All right, guys, Tyler down here at Emerald City Guitars with a really cool guitar. This is a 1961 Gibson EMS-1235. Now, the EMS stands for Electric Mandolin Spanish. If you'll notice, this is not an actual mandolin neck. It's a 6-string octave guitar, but kind of sits in the same register as a mandolin, so I assume that's why Gibson named it that. These are rare, rare guitars. Gibson started making them in 1958 and continued in this body style through the end of '61, at which point they switched to a solid body SG kind of style body, and they made that style, I think, into the '70s. Now, only 41 of these guitars were made in this original body style. They were available in white, sunburst, or black. There were only 2 made in black, this one and another one, so it's by far the rarest color. Now, all of these were made as custom orders. Like I said, they're very rare. So they'll all have sort of unique features. Some have actual mandolin necks. I've seen different tail pieces on some of them. I've even heard of one with a banjo neck on top. For what reason, God knows. But the only custom appointments on this one are the original owner's name that have been, I guess, sort of engraved there into the matching pick guards. You can see Hank McCormick. Now, these early models are really, really special, and not just because of the rarity. Like I said, in '62, when they switched to the SG body style, it was just that. It was a solid SG-looking body that they just sort of stretched to accommodate this second neck. But that wasn't the case with these early models. This is actually a full hollow instrument, laminated maple back and sides, and a thick carved spruce top. And when I say thick, I mean thick. And the reason for this immense thickness of the top was actually twofold. First, they needed something strong enough to anchor both these tail pieces to. The Bigsby and the stop tail are both screwed directly into the top. And like I said, there's no center block, so you need solid wood to attach those two. The second reason was to mitigate feedback. At this point, Gibson was hip to the fact that full hollow guitars were really prone to feedback, and their solution in this case was to thicken up that top to a point where it basically wouldn't vibrate. Now, the maybe unintentional result of this was a really, really unique sounding instrument that wasn't really like anything else in Gibson's catalog. In fact, unlike the later SG body style, I don't think there was a similar 6-string guitar in Gibson's lineup in terms of construction before this guitar or since this guitar. Now, this method of construction also made these guitars surprisingly light for their size. This one's just barely 10 pounds, which maybe sounds like a lot, but considering how huge it is, it feels feather light in the hand. It's fantastic. Now, these always kind of remind me of a model that Guild used to make in the 50s. They might still make it. It's called the Aristocrat. And what that is a smaller body guitar that's chambered with a thick carved spruce top. And I always loved those guitars. They sound great. And this is kind of the same idea, but with a pair of PAFs, which I think we all can agree is better. There's also a PAF on the octave neck, as you can see. This is a narrow-spaced PAF, the kind you'd see on like a Birdland or some of the arch tops, and of course that's done to accommodate the slimmer string spacing on the octave neck. So I always kind of wonder about the context of these strange instruments back in the day, because we look at them now and they're kind of novelties, but that certainly wasn't the case back then. Back when these were being made, they would have run you $495 plus $90 for the case. This was back when you can get a brand new burst for, I think, $265. Now, obviously, this was a major investment at the time for a working musician who's obviously making his living playing this thing night after night, and who had a serious, non-ironic utilitarian use for this that may be difficult for us to understand today. But in any case, it is a very, very cool piece of Gibson history and an objectively excellent instrument as well. So this guitar is already sold. It's sold immediately, actually to Slash, who you might know, so it's going to a great home. But before we pack it up and ship it out, we're going to hand it over to Skyler Mihal, and he's going to show you how it sounds.